Very welcome to this additional video about the travel regulations here in the Philippines. And I just want to give you a little bit of a overview. And in my last video I talked about the travel regulation because of Corona, and that as a foreign tourist you need to be at least fully vaccinated. That means 2 times or 1 time with Johnson & Johnson. But if you want to know about this, you can check that video out. But here we want to talk about 2 things basically, and there is some rumors and some ways of people saying that they got into the country without a vaccine. Tourists, I'm not talking about Filipinos because they are of course allowed to come back to their country. And I just want to explain where those rumors and things which got posted on the internet are based on, and why I think that's really risky. But then you can make your own picture out of this situation and you can decide for yourself and see what is on those things. And of course all the links are down below. And then the second half of this video I just want to quickly talk about the wearing mask in the Philippines and how it is culturally and how you can maybe understand it a little bit better if you come from a Western individualistic country. So these 2 points. My name is Eric and I live here with my wife in the Philippines. We have a little hotel, so we are quite involved in the tourism industry and of course hoping that many people want to come here in the future as well. So that's why we make those videos. If you have complaints about the regulations, well, please keep that for the official people who actually make those regulations. But if you have any experience or any tips and other things, or maybe I'm just wrong, then write that down in the comments down below. But a rant about the COVID restrictions, that's no use. Well, let's get into the video. And so point 1 is there are some rumors that you can enter Cebu without the vaccine certificate, so without any vaccine. I think it was the governor or some officials in Cebu, the mayor or the governor in Cebu wanted to have that happen, but he couldn't actually make it happen because those rules and regulations for COVID restriction and traveling are made nationally. So he talked about that a lot, but it didn't actually happen. The other thing not often get talked about is that there is in that resolution number 168, which I linked of course down below, there is a section where it talks about unvaccinated people. And there is some confusion about it, how this is working and how people trying to use it to their advantage of entering the Philippines without being vaccinated foreigners. So let's have a look at it. So I open it here, the resolution number 168, and you can find that as well very easily. And basically they state everything you need to know. And it starts Section A with foreigners entering the Philippines, so that's your requirements you need to keep. We have a video about that. Then it defines what fully vaccinated and tests actually mean. Then what does it mean for children? And then Section C, fully vaccinated Filipino nationals. And then Section D, unvaccinated, partially unvaccinated, or individuals who vaccination status cannot be independently validated. So now people say, of course it doesn't say Filipino, it says individual. I'm an individual, am I not? Well, I'm not a lawyer, but I can point to the sources where other people actually interpret that law. So let's look first at the US Embassy in the Philippines. And there is written, being fully vaccinated except for minor children below 12 traveling with fully vaccinated parents who can present acceptable proof of vaccination. Unvaccinated foreign nationals will not be allowed admission into the Philippines. So here the US government basically telling foreigners well, this is how you need to read that law. Okay, so that was the US Embassy in the Philippines who reads that law or this resolution this way. But now let's have a look, and I looked at the Philippine Embassy in Germany, and there it is written that here it's foreign nationals entering the Philippines, they need to be fully vaccinated against COVID-19 and they need to have passport and all this kind of stuff. So that's what we have already discussed. The interesting thing is they show here, so it's based on the resolution number 168, and they clearly say here, okay, you need to be fully vaccinated, and of course if you're not boosted, need to have the test and this kind of stuff. And that shows us, okay, this section actually falls under the Filipino regulation. That the individuals mentioned there are Filipinos, and you can see that actually further down on the website from the German embassy. You can see that then the section fully Filipino nationals, and there's fully vaccinated Filipino nationals, and then section B, unvaccinated, partially unvaccinated or Filipino nationals whose vaccination status cannot be independently validated. So here it's clearly the option for being not vaccinated is for people who are Philippine nationals, and you can read that for yourself as well. What people do now, they take that section D, which has a bit of unclear wording. What this section D actually says is that you need to present a PCR test, that you need to undergo quarantine procedures. So what people now do, they buy a ticket, they make the test, and they book a quarantine hotel and basically go with this section to the check-in counter or the check-in at the check-in the airlines. They don't know it exactly and all this kind of stuff, and they go there and say, here section D in the resolution 168 says that unvaccinated and partially unvaccinated individuals can enter the country. I just need to fill out all those requirements, and I do have all those requirements. But as we have already seen, that's a bit risky, because clearly the embassies and people who should really know that, so the foreign ministries where the embassies are attached, they are saying on Filipino side and on the other sides, basically, the other countries, that this counts only for Filipinos. And I hope that shows a little bit why those rumors need to be taken with a bit of salt, and that social media is full of information which, if you don't confirm them for yourself, it could be really risky for you. I got told from some people that they actually got denied entry. From the official side, I would say, as all the sources I can read, this section D of the resolution 168 doesn't apply to foreigners. Don't be angry if you get sent back. And actually you might get even a ban from the airline as well, because the airline needs to pay a penalty and bring you back to your home country. So that's our kind of things you need to consider, and then you need to wonder if it is worth it to do. And there is another way of getting exempt, and there are some medical exemptions. The embassies actually point to that. Please contact your local embassy or your Bureau of Immigration if you're in the Philippines, what you can do if you're not vaccinated. And basically there's some medical exemption, but for tourists I'm not sure if they will give medical exemption. I know one person who got a medical exemption coming from the US to the Philippines, but they had a work visa in the Philippines, and then they needed to bring all the doctors, staff and all the things why they can't have the vaccine, and then they could enter. But second point now, and that is about the mask. So you might have heard, and I have also talked about it in the previous video about the restriction, that mask mandate is lifted outdoors basically. And of course for me personally, I think that's too late actually for the tourism perspective. But basically what I really want to say is that you need to understand that if you come from a Western country, you're coming from an individualistic culture. That means it's, well, basically centered around you and your freedoms. At least that's what you get told. And that's how we all grow up, me too. But then here in the Philippines is a collective culture. That means the collective, the group, stands above the individual. And that brings lots of other things with it, and we're gonna make a video about it. And as a psychologist, I know at least a little bit about that. Regarding the mask problem, even when masks are lifted in outdoors and maybe soon also indoors, then if everyone around you also wears a mask and you are not, you're not making a statement like you would maybe do in the West, but you would actually offend people. Because you're basically not keeping to the group's rule. And that's really simplified, of course. So, and that's what I want to remind you. So even though rules are lifted, maybe in some places everyone around you wears a mask, then maybe it's good to also wear a mask, just out of politeness to the Philippine culture and the Philippine people. Because they will not tell you that they feel offended or that they think you're wrong. Oh, electricity's gone. But you got a certain responsibility as a foreigner. And that's what I really wanted to tell you. In most places people wear no mask. Like here in the province where we live, people wear a long time ago no mask actually. And that is, well, quite okay. And I think, people got used or tired of those masks a long time ago here in the Philippines as well, even though the mask mandate was on. But I just want to remind you of this cultural difference as well. And that's the two things I wanted to say here in this video and clear up as well, because I get asked a lot about what's about unvaccinated people, and that's what I think about unvaccinated people. And I hope I give you all the sources. You can check it for yourself, what you can do or not do, or maybe try or not try. But I think it's very risky. And I also want to just remind you on the culture you're entering here in the Philippines in regarding to masks. So I hope you found it interesting, and give it a thumbs up. Would be cool to know what you think about it. Comment down below rather than just giving it a thumbs down because you don't like the regulations. Write it down below in the comments. Sometimes YouTube will delete some comments if you say something negative about the regulations. That's just how it is. It's not me, but I will delete comments who are insulting other people. So, but hopefully you found it informative. And if you want to know more about life here in the Philippines, traveling in the Philippines without all the other stuff about this pandemic and all this kind of stuff, then would be cool to give a sub here as well to our channel. And we hope to see you next week. There's all about the Philippines again and not that regulation stuff. So see you there.